I think there's a good update actually when it comes to Zebec because recently they showcased their monthly volume report, and this was about the month of June, by the way. And of course, for me to know the July one, I'll probably have to hypothetically wait until next month. But even besides that, I do still see some improvements here when compared to back in May. And let me show you what I'm talking about because, again, in the monthly volume report of June of this year, Zebec reported 11,700 employees served. And this is regarding its payrolls. Why do I find this, very impressive? It's because when it comes to the month of May, the number of employees served, again, when it comes to payrolls, that was 11,000. So that's an increase of 700. Not bad, in my opinion. Not to mention, back in May, the number of enterprise clients was 227. In June, 230. Now, that's an increase in 3. Now, some people may be thinking, whoa, who cares about that? That's not a significant increase. But we have to think about sometimes the difficulty that some projects out there may have in terms of even gaining, enterprise clients to begin with. I mean, for some of their projects out there, even having one is a major victory. So an increase in 3, even despite, going from 227 to 230, may not seem that impressive in the grand scheme of things. I still think it's not bad, especially again, if I'm assuming that maybe getting some of these enterprise clients may not be the easiest thing. Not to mention, just having that figure of over 200, I think is again also very impressive. But even besides that, payroll volume for, again, the month of June was around $43 million monthly. And if we take a look back in May, it was $41 million. So an increase in $2 million. Again, some people may not think it's that impressive, but that's actually a lot, I think, in, the grand scheme of things. I mean, $2 million, wow. I mean, that's just the way to take a look at it. But even besides that, when it comes to the Zebec cards, because I get it, some people like to say, oh, it's not really doing anything. Well, just take a look at, like, for instance, the Zebec cards, when it comes to rolling 4 weeks annualized, the volume back in May was 48.5 million. If we take a look at it in June, it was 52 million. So not bad right there. Not to mention the number of cards issued when it comes to May was 11,079. If we take a look at June, it's 11,899. So when I take a look at that, I mean, that's not bad statistics. I mean, sure, these aren't the best in the world or anything like that. I mean, it's nothing to really, I would say, kind of show off in the grand scheme of things because there's way bigger projects out there. But then given the circumstances of Zebec, not again being necessarily the biggest project out there, considering the improvements and considering the strides that they're kind of making, I do like what I'm seeing here. So I don't think it's a bad update. I think it's actually pretty good when it comes to Zebec. Now, not to mention, when people like to say that, oh, Zebec, they're not really working towards anything. Well, I kind of disagree with that because, for instance, we take a look at the founder of GateKnox, right? GateKnox, by the way, is something that Zebec acquired. He allegedly is working towards ISO 20022 compliance. Why do I think this is crucial? It's because Zebec, again, it's kind of sometimes viewed in the same regard as like Ripple or Stellar. So, of course, I think having that compliance really could matter in the grand scheme of things because let's think about why even ISO 20022, I think, even matters in the first place, at least having an aspect of that when it comes to a project that is focused on payments and global trade and finance. It's because ISO 20022, that is currently being used by many financial institutions from all around the world for something called inter-organizational data exchange. To put it quite simply, I think, it's just something that sounds very cool to me. And I think, again, sometimes when people take a look at these type of projects, if they don't see an aspect of ISO 20022, some of my friends out there, they don't even want to even believe in the project. So the way you take a look at it is that this is, I think, a good step in the right direction. And keep in mind, they acquired GateKnox, hypothetically, from what I can assume, to be focused on compliance. So that really does, I think, make sense in this whole thing. This is why I think Zebec really has a long-term mindset, because instead of acquiring GateKnox, they could have easily, I don't know, probably hired an athlete or celebrity to, showcase the project, whatever. But then instead they did stuff like this. So then this is why I think Zebec overall is, very exciting to me, at least, because I like its fundamentals, focus on AI-based PayFi. I mean, we got to think about this, right? Payment finance. The payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion, and the global trade and finance market is predicted to reach up to $5 trillion in value by 2028, according to Mordor Intelligence. And we add AI on top of that, right? AI-based PayFi again. AI, that market size right there, according to Grandview Research, is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030. So this is something, again, that I do like when it comes to Zebec, because I think they're focused on the right markets. They're also focused on RWAs, real-world assets, which, may not be the most interesting, I would say, arguably market out there. But take a look at Ondo. Ondo is pretty massive, and that's heavily focused on RWAs. So overall, I don't think Zebec is a bad project to me, and I just wanted to make this update right here to kind of showcase my thoughts on Zebec and just also talk about the improvements it had. Because again, people like to say, oh, Zebec's not really doing anything, no improvements. Well, again, I do disagree with that, because I think that actually these type of figures are not bad for the project. Something like Zebec, for instance. However, in the meantime, when it comes to ZBCN, pretty okay recovery. And if, let's say, we do see things continuously do better, and let's say maybe we do see more reports come out, right, when it comes to Zebec, this is, I think, something that could really also kind of maybe gain more attention when it comes to Zebec. Because if we take a look at projects out there that don't really update or don't really showcase anything, sure, maybe they could still gain attention nonetheless. It's going to be different on a case-by-case basis. But imagine if the markets keep doing better and better, and Zebec keeps, putting more and more updates. They keep, showcasing, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. These are our numbers. I think that right there is a good touch when it comes to it. But again, I think just the cherry on top for Zebec when it comes to me is the aspect of Solana. I'm a big fan of Solana as a layer 1 blockchain. I just think it's, very revolutionary, right? Because, Ethereum, sky high gas fees, arguable scalability issues. Granted, there are Ethereum layer 2s that kind of fixes this type of stuff, while at the same time allowing it for it to be enjoyed quite essentially. But I just like Solana as a layer 1 blockchain. I think it's, very interesting to me, and Solana Ventures being one of the backers when it comes to Zebec, that's, again, is even the cherry on top of the, icing on the cake, I feel like, the analogy I would use. Not to mention, Circle, which people sometimes don't really talk about this anymore when it comes to Zebec, but I'll mention it nonetheless, because Circle, allegedly one of the early backers when it comes to Zebec, allegedly they also hold a lot of ZBCN. And by the way, this is even according to Zebec's own post on X, where they say that, again, like somewhere along the lines of how Circle holds a significant amount of ZBCN. So I think that right there is just also very impressive. I mean, Circle, again, the creator of USDC, the stablecoin, that's one of the biggest stablecoins out there. Many people's number 2 go-to, right behind USDT, arguably. So then, overall, I'm very excited. I'm still going to wait for the next month's, volume, I would say, when it comes to, the monthly volume report. But only time will tell when it comes to that. But even if, let's say, the next month was, worse than this month for whatever reason, who knows? Because I don't know. It's not next month as of right now. We're still in July. So I would only know the July one, I'm assuming, by next month. But I'm saying, even if, let's say, the numbers dip down 10, 25%, I do not think it would be bad anyways. I mean, these numbers are already very impressive to begin with. But yeah, even besides that point, all I'm going to do right now is just stay patient and just wait for ZBCN, and that's pretty much it. But I just wanted to make a quick update and showcase what Zebec, is kind of showcasing to the community, and I do like this. But even besides that point, I'm still a fan of Zebec. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.